Good afternoon. Diversity Committee is called to order. As you can see, I am not Susan Metzger. She is on other personal business and asked me to chair, and proud to do so, joined by Bob Bickford, a member of the committee, as well as the presidents of Long Island Railroad and Metro North, and our diversity staff. Let's first ask if there are any public comments to be made.
There are no public speakers.
Oh, that's so good. Then let's move along. If you've had a chance to read the minutes, Bob, since it's you and me voting, I'll move approval. Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor. The work plan, if you've had a chance to take a look at that, I presume there is no issue.
Mr. Chairman, there are
Yeah.
no changes to the work plan.
And if there are no changes, I move approval.
Well, we keep it. Yeah. We don't have to do anything.
Okay. Then let me take a couple of things out of order of the agenda. I've asked Presidents William and Permit to come by and share with us not the EEO process going forward. That is a presentation that will be made in the early fall, I believe at our October meeting now, but to talk about recruitment, which goes on now, and that may change in the future, but it's still useful to talk about, to get an understanding of the numbers, and to talk about minority and women business contracting. Whoever would like to go first.
Thank you very much for the opportunity to join today's Diversity Committee meeting and give you somewhat of a special report. We wanted to talk about our recruitment strategy, and it's designed to address areas of underutilization and underrepresentation of females and minorities in our workforce, and to try to, of course, better reflect the demographics of the market we serve. The Long Island Railroad develops an annual hiring plan in the fourth quarter of the previous year, which lets us know what crafts and other represented positions and how many we will be recruiting for in the upcoming year. This allows us to begin recruitment early. I do have to pause and say, notwithstanding that effort, sometimes our retirements are greater than we expect, or sometimes they're less than we expect, and that can throw off the hiring plan. So we're always making adjustments to that hiring plan. At the end of the recruitment process, and we follow a typical recruitment process, we have online applications, we have outreach, job fairs, and community action. We evaluate the diversity of the pool of viable candidates. If the pool is lacking diversity or areas where we have identified underrepresentation, we do additional outreach and or interviews to improve the diversity of the candidate pool. And that's really been one of the elements of success in better diversifying our workforce. We've been able to say that the candidate pool wasn't sufficient and that we had to go back out and do more affirmative steps to get diversity. We have worked hard, at that balancing at every opportunity as part of the hiring plan. We place advertisements in represented and management position of represented and management positions on targeted websites, and we've gotten a lot of input over the years over what websites are more effective, what communications will give us the best results. We use the National Association of Hispanic Journalists, Society of Women Engineers, Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, and National Association of Women in Construction. And those have helped really diversify some of the non-traditional titles that we have. We also develop relationships with community-based organizations such as Non-Traditional Employment of Women and the Council of Urban Professionals. The Long Island Railroad Diversity Management advises human resources of underrepresentation of females and minorities for posted position openings and develops other reports to track specifically how responsive the candidate pool is. One element that I would add in terms of recruitment is that we are joining a nationwide effort to try to hire more veterans that are coming home from overseas duty. It's a very targeted program, and we're reaching out to fellow veterans as well as veteran job fairs. And there's been a number of them that have been sponsored, and we're working hard to ensure that veterans have an opportunity to re-enter the job market as quickly as possible. So that's a little bit of summary of our efforts. We do think we're making progress in diversifying our workforce, and our numbers show that.
Do you anticipate any changes to your recruitment methods going forward?
We have to see how well we do on the veterans job fair approach. That's a little rusty, it hasn't been used as frequently. So we will be fine-tuning that depending on the experience we have with the job fairs for veterans. With regard to other titles, we think we have a network in place that is producing results, and we think we're getting recognized, by the population in general as a place that welcomes diversity. So we are seeing very good, diverse candidates coming through our online application system.
Is there anything you'd like to add with respect to minority and women business contractors?
On minority and business contractors, I have to say I really applaud the mentoring program. We've had great success in being able to carve out some work specifically for the mentoring program, and we really appreciate all the effort that went into designing that program. And we've done very well. Of course, we want to see those companies get to the next step now as they progress through the mentoring program to be able to take on larger contracts.
Apart from the mentoring program, do you see any anticipated progress toward meeting your numbers with respect to minority and women-owned businesses doing business with the Long Island Railroad?
We think that there are still some obstacles to that. That's why we like the mentoring program so much, because we think it breaks down some of those barriers. But there are some contracting opportunities that we think work. But some of the smaller diversified firms have trouble meeting our typical insurance requirements, risk allocation requirements, and that are things that, from a business perspective, we can't change those standards. So the mentoring program helps them get through those, obstacles, develop the right, credit rating so that they can then get the insurance that they need for larger programs. In terms of, just commodity buying, I think New York State, has done as much as they can to recently scrub some of the requirements to become a certified MBE, and that's helped, I think, add people to the list. But those are, pretty much a competitive sealed bid opportunity. So those are harder for companies to break through.
Bob, do you have any?
No, I'm very interested in this, though.
Well, then let me pursue this a little, Helena, if you don't mind, because the numbers aren't
Right.
anything to write home to the folks about. And for a very long period of time, those of us who've been involved in this kind of thing for in a number of different places hear bonding obstacles, risk obstacles.
Right.
Okay. But what are you going to do about that? It's like, a crime number, Hey, crime's going up. What are we doing about this? The answer to that I'm hoping that we get at this point, or at some point, is what is LIRR doing about increasing these opportunities so these numbers go up?
We work within the, framework of the MTA insurance and risk allocation. So we are, I think, subject to the same parameters as even, Transit and Metro North. We can't alter those requirements. So the best we can do is help companies hurdle, the entry into that market. And that's why the mentoring program was so important. I can't emphasize enough, the opportunities that presents and opens doors.
I couldn't agree with you more. Helena, is it worthwhile to consider some of the contractors who have overcome these obstacles, who are perhaps doing business with the New York City Transit Authority or other divisions of the MTA, and see how they have done it?
Oh, we would welcome that. We, in fact, think that we've done a pretty good job now of trying to tap into those resources and get people interested. The other thing we try to do, and, we're rolling out our capital program now, the last 3 years now have been funded, so there's an opportunity, to develop partnerships that allow smaller firms to partner with larger firms, and then some of the risk allocation gets, put to the larger firm. But we would welcome any experience transit has that has made this successful. It continues, to be a challenge, more so than the recruitment strategy for hiring. Mm-hmm. Contracting, still tends to be a difficult area.
Well, I guess for some of our operating divisions it's more difficult than others. But then, of course, we have the wealth of experience among our divisions that should be able to, people work on building stations. How different is a station, an outdoor station from the Transit Authority, as opposed to one for the Long Island Railroad?
Well, and in fact, that's a perfect example where Transit is using their station component rebuild program instead of doing full stations. We're doing the same thing, station component rebuild, and that has been one of the targeted areas for our mentoring program. So we agree. And we're now looking at, are there elements in our, for example, signal program where we could do, instead of a full, change out of an entire, signal system, are there components that we want to rebuild? And we think those, by sizing those contracts that way, we will broaden the opportunity for participation.
Bob?
No, I'd like to hear from Howard, but pretty soon.
Howard?
Okay, so
Thank you,
again,
Helena.
and thank you for giving me the opportunity to talk to this. I think much of what I am going to say will be very similar to what you've heard from Helena. There are a few differences, and let me just go through them. Let me start on the hiring. So similar to what Helena described, we do a hiring plan at the beginning of every year that identifies how many people we're going to need. The last few years for Metro North are really unique years, and it makes our projections less accurate because of all the retirements we're having. And so we're really have been in the last couple of years and will be for the next, I'd say, 2 to 3 years. Our ability to accurately project what we need will be difficult because we don't know that we will have a significant number of people eligible to retire. We don't know how many people will do so. The other challenge we have is just the sheer volume, regardless of if it's 300 or 400, the sheer volume is very great for us. So we are, because there's so many people, just the numbers of people going is much higher than it has been. So we have a hiring plan. We start with that. The fact that there is so much turnover gives us some opportunity because we will have that many more opportunities to hire people than we might not have had 5 or 10 years ago because there are more vacant positions. So what we have done, and we are looking, and Freddie, we've talked about it. We're looking at exactly refining, doing basically, if you will call it, we call it almost a self-review or an audit of how we calculate things. We're looking at that, checking that, because that will help us refine the strategies I'm going to talk about. Once we have that, to see what else, where we're doing, where we think we need to do better, and then we'll modify strategies accordingly. We generally use similar strategies now that Helena talked about. So we do the job fairs, and we go to the job expos. We have been this year to over 20 of them. I have a list of them. They're basically focused in very, very diverse places, trying to get people interested in Metro North, telling them about Metro North. And that's one of the things we do. Similar to Helena mentioned, same thing on veterans. We're working with a number of different veteran organizations who provide assistance to veterans looking for employment. We're doing that as well. We also have had outreach to a number of specific organizations that work with minority communities and assisting in job placement. And again, I won't read you the whole list of them, but there's a long grouping of them. And finally, we sent one of our folks went up with Mike Garner in Albany to attend the We Are the Future seminar, which is basically a methodologies of better recruiting Hispanics into the workforce, a 3-day seminar in Albany. One of the things that we do, which is a challenge for us, is that we serve many metropolitan areas within the New York metropolitan area. Poughkeepsie, New Haven, Bridgeport, these are major communities in and of themselves. And so we have outreaches, not just into many of these groups are located, would be the local groups in those kinds of communities, but those are major communities regardless of, regardless of the New York City being just part of New York City. So we do a lot of efforts. We're working, we had a program, a major program with Gateway College that we developed as a way to get people into Metro North, both from a diversity standpoint, a skills standpoint. So we have electricians, a major issue we hire up in New Haven. So we have a host of different programs, and we are tailoring them to the different geographic areas we serve and where the people live. So that's what we're working on the recruitment front. Again, I think once we complete our review, we'll take a look at how well we're doing and where we have to modify these. My guess is some of it may be in the modifications we'll be talking about are we need to do more up here in Community X versus what we're doing, let's say, in New York City. Maybe we have to do more in Poughkeepsie. Maybe we have to do more in New York City and less in White Plains, for example. I don't know, or maybe we have to do more across the board. But I'm anticipating those are the types of things we will learn and we'll be better prepared to discuss this fall.
Well, I appreciate that. The outreach efforts are to some degree independent of what the numbers are or aren't. And recruitment is, it's an assessment of how you do things.
Right.
That may change once you get your, thank you, once you get your...
Sure, why we went to dark.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. Now we're awake.
That may change once you get a fuller understanding of how you're going to recalculate.
Right.
And that's fine. But recruitment really is recruitment. I mean, it's how you go about doing your business. Are there any things that you see now that you think on reflection you may want to change even before you get the data in?
Yeah, Freddie, I don't. So sitting here today, there's nothing that jumps out at me that I know we want to do differently. I don't know, Ray, do you have anything you would add to that, or Adrian?
Well, I'll certainly defer to Adrian on this, but the Metro North Human Resources Department is well aware of our recruitment numbers and our underutilization areas, and they're focused on that all the time. And if you look at the first half of this year's numbers, we've made some, small as they may be, incremental improvements in hiring women and Hispanics, which were two of our lower categories. So they're well aware of it in the recruitment process and are focused on making those numbers improve. But I don't know that if there is, we haven't discovered it yet, the aha moment the aha catalyst that's going to get us 100% above the goal, but we're always striving to keep our eye on where the underutilization is and in our recruitment do the best we can to make those numbers get up where they should be.
Adrian?
Well, this isn't an this isn't an aha question, but I would think one of the ways we start looking at what we do is asking ourselves a question. If I am still around and on this committee, will I be asking you the exact same question next year, and will the numbers be similar next year? And if the answer to that is yes and yes, that's an aha moment, because that tells you that something really isn't moving.
Right.
Do you understand what I've said?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. Adrian, do you have anything you'd like to highlight, Commissioner?
Well, first of all, I'd just like to say that we are very much aware of our underutilization. And so one of the things that we are really doing is trying to get more out into the community to establish better relationships with some of the community-based organizations to try to bring in more diverse candidates. We've been working with various organizations to address those issues, and we realize that we have to get out there more. So that's one of the things that we are planning on doing for this year, which is to really try to get out there, walk the pavement, establish these relationships. We've been working and trying to see if we could help with some of the skills that we find that are really lacking in some of these communities, and trying to bring more programs to these communities in hopes that they will be able to come and join Metro North. So those are some of the things that we are doing, that we have been doing in the past, but we are making more of a concerted effort as we move forward.
And that'll be appreciated. Bob, did you?
No particular questions.
Oh,
Now we're good at
Do you want me to go into the...
Yeah.
Okay.
Contracting?
Right. So I think Helena highlighted some of the things that Long Island's doing is, again, similar to Metro North. We have done a few different things, and in one place I am happy to say that the numbers have moved dramatically, which is in the discretionary program, which is in the book here. So we have broken out projects where we can. We have broken down components of particularly station projects where we have taken out pieces of work and which we know that the small business community can do. That's one place where we have clearly done that. We've worked with Mike Garner and his staff to do a number of outreach efforts in communities that we had not previously been out in, including in Connecticut and up and further in the north. Because when you look at the numbers and you see how many qualified firms there are, you see one of the challenges, as always, there are very few, if not zero, in some of our communities further to the north in particular. So we are working with Michael. We have talked about what do we have to do to get out to try to find more communities. Going to Connecticut was one, since they are there you can have companies that can get further north. And we will continue to do that piece of the work. As I mentioned, we did focus one place where we've been able to be successful is in the discretionary procurements. We moved our numbers up, so we're at around 7%, which is we have here in the book. So I was very pleased about that. We had a focus on how best to do that. Anthony is here. He could talk about it if you'd like any more detail. So I think there we've done well. I think that in the rest we still have a ways to go. Some of this is extremely difficult, and there are lots of challenges. There's a challenge of geography, where the firms are not where they are. There's a challenge, as Helena talked about, of business practice and a whole host of requirements we have. When we look at some of our numbers, and we have to, again, this is part of how things are, so we make sure we're reporting in a way that is actionable. A huge piece of our capital program was on rolling stock that had been previously procured in the last capital program. And so that's a hard thing to do, when you have a major contract with an international company and you've already awarded it 5-6 years ago.
Right.
So some of that, those are some of the realities we face when we look at how well we're doing.
Yet those numbers show improvement.
Yes, the place where we clearly show improvement, Freddie, right now is in the discretionary.
Mm-hmm.
There we've done well. I'm very pleased about that. In the other places, I think we're doing a little bit better. They're a little more familiar than I am.
I think the capital program, you'll see increases along that. I think we've always been able to have tremendous outreach with the capital program. The representative from my staff worked with Ron Saporita and Anish on the small business mentoring program. In addition to the capital program, the goals assigned to that. Metro North has always had good numbers with the capital program. I think Howard mentioned the outreaches. In addition to the outreaches that we've already done, Wednesday, like Howard said, we'll be in Stamford with Mike. In August, I believe we'll be up in Poughkeepsie, working with New York State Department of Economic Development also. So we're making strides. We're very proud of the discretionary procurements. The communication between Mike's group and my group has increased tremendously. I have a staff member from Mike's staff embedded in my department that's a representative for MWBE. So my staff has somebody face-to-face that they can go to, they can look at the lists, they can review the goals, they decide on what's the best way to procure and who's the best firms that can get and respond to that procurement. So I've been speaking to Mike constantly on it. We've been pushing it. We've trained the staff. We also use the Transit Authority's database. We downloaded the Transit Authority's database, who had a tremendous number of firms in the MWBE section. We took it onto Metro North's database. We meshed the two, so now my buyers and my contracts individuals, my professionals, have the same number of firms that the Transit Authority has available to them to solicit to. So we're making strides. We're very proud of the numbers. We want them to go up, and we think they will go up.
Okay,
That's all good to hear.
that's good.
I actually can't speak to that issue of whether we downloaded the transit database, and I don't know if I have anybody here that could speak to that, but I think, I was going to say, Anthony, you probably know.
Dennis asked for it, too, so
We
if he
wanted the
hasn't
same
already,
thing.
he
Right.
will do it.
Okay, because I'll make sure that, we're using that same database, because really, I think the issue is making sure that you at least make the outreach on specific commodity buying, and that's, I think, what your buyers are doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the entire point of this
Yeah,
exercise.
Yeah. So I'll verify that we're making the same progress. I suspect Dennis has done that.
Well, I presume that
Uh,
among the divisions, or at least among you two, there is some articulation.
Yeah.
Right.
There is all the time.
Well, and that's why I turned to Anthony and said, Anthony, how are we doing that?
Okay.
He knows.
We are working very closely on procurements.
So I hope that by the time we have a more fulsome presentation in October, I think it is, we can address these two issues, plus the larger issue of what the numbers are and where we expect them to be as a result of our efforts.
We will.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you for coming.
Thank
Good.
Thanks very much.
Now we can proceed with our agenda, I think, at item 3.
Sure. I was just going to mention, Mr. Chairman, that since we were discussing the recruitment initiatives, the other representatives are here also from the other agencies, if you like to hear now about their recruitment efforts, or we can do that later on in the program.
Perhaps we ought to do that
Now. In the
since I think October is going to be a very long meeting. But were the other agencies prepared to make presentations?
I believe that Ms.
Then if you
they
were,
can speak
please
for themselves.
proceed. Who wants to go first?
I'll go first. My name is Patrick Smith. I'm the Senior Director for Human Resources from New York City Transit. Over the past few years, we have modified and remodified our recruitment and outreach efforts. Unlike Metro North and Long Island Railroad, our business is a bit different. We are more closer to the Travel Bridge and Tunnel because we're civil service. So our recruitment effort has to begin at the beginning of time, not here and now. So each year we develop a 6-month hiring plan, and based on that hiring plan we go out to the community and to the schools, high schools, the Korean technical high schools as an example, colleges, and we bring them up to speed as to what is required to get a job in New York City Transit. Well, we're in the Bronx just a couple of days ago, trying to get those folks in tune with what's coming down the pike. We post on just about all of the websites that we can find. We go to all of the veterans. We talk about veterans here. We have probably paid visit to Fort Hamilton on a quarterly basis, if not more regular. We've gone to Fort Bragg as an example.
Hi there, I'm Aleda Myers, and I'm the Director of Recruitment for MTA New York City Transit, and I also assist MTA Bus Company, and I also assist Staten Island Railway, and I might be doing some more stuff with you guys here, there. So, this grand team of one, we go regularly to Fort Hamilton, because we don't believe just providing information, just sending something to an email address is enough. So, I go directly to Fort Hamilton to servicemen who are leaving within the next 6 months, and I provide them resume writing, interviewing skills workshops. I give them my business card, and I says, when you're leaving, call me. So, and I'm also...
You do this yourself?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Handcuff her to this place. Don't let her go.
We need her.
Okay. In addition to, I've been in... I have a big mouth, and just in case you haven't noticed. So one day we were at the Capital Construction, and I were in a Hiring Our Heroes event, and I saw this gentleman who had lots of bits of ribbons on his shirt, and I grabbed him by the lapel, and I said, I need to hire more vets. Help me. So I'm in conversations with the Pentagon. It's very, that sounds very, very. And I'm working with this new group called Marines for Life. So I'm in contact with them where we're going to be inviting them to come to 2 Broadway, and I'm going to invite all of our staff to say all Marines who are New York Marines or tri-state area, you are welcome to come, and we will sit down and do resume writing and interviewing skills workshops. In addition to, I think, money is a big issue with all of us. So what we've done also too is we have station posters with women and minorities in the poster, showing them doing security work, showing them doing bus mechanic work. So, because what's more cheaper and what's more diverse than and I would like to, and I'm sticking my foot in the mouth, and I'm apologizing if I'm not political, I'd like to see these posters everywhere. Not just New York City station posters and bus posters, but wherever we are, if you are actually buying our services, you should find out about the MTA as a whole as a place of employment. I would like to ask if you could possibly do this. We have MetroCard vending machines. I'd like to have a little sticker that says, hey, if you're interested, come learn about job opportunities or if you have a business, how do you find that out? So every time you pass by, you find that out. We also did if you remember the on-the-go, we started the electronic signs. We put up our examination information. Now we're doing this now, so please know, sir, that by the time they start getting hired, it's going to be a couple of years. So this is not going to be, I don't see these overnight numbers. It's not going to be that way. But it is going to be, I think a year from now, it's going to hit hard. And that's where I'd like to see. And I'm going to be very blunt. I went last week to the Bronx. Montefiore had a job fair. A total of 12 people came. So I think these nonprofit groups have the right idea, but they're not communicating to the public. And I don't know what to do. And that is my question. I went last Friday to York College. They had a homecoming event for events. One person showed up at the table, and that was a wife of a Marine who was based in California and was gathering information. So I think these nonprofits have their heart in the right place, but they don't have the skills yet to get out to the community and say, this is what you're going to have to do. And what I have seen, what we have to do is step by step. For people who've never worked, because my parents came to this country not speaking English, and not knowing what to do, and they don't know what to do, and they're kind of shy. So what do? We have to be out in the community and out and letting people know these are the steps, because it is overwhelming to fill out the experience education test papers. It's overwhelming to go through this BSC portal and click and click and click. If you don't have a computer at home, how do you go about doing that? It's not easy. So I'm kind of throwing it back to other people going, how can we work together to do this?
You say your parents were shy?
Well, as a Latina, you're coming, because what happens is nice. Why I'm working with them, I try to work with vets who work with other vets, because there's nothing like it. As a Latina, I see what it's like. My parents came here to this country. My mom was homeless. She lived in the park. So I like to surprise people, because they say, "Oh, she's dressed professionally," and you go, "No, my mother ate out of garbage cans." So I know what it's like to live, to not have that. And a job in any of these agencies can change you to middle class in one generation.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And I'm glad you didn't turn out like your parents, shy. Anyone else making a presentation? Yes.
I'm Leon Goodman from headquarters, and good afternoon to everyone. I'm actually here on a dual purpose. I represent headquarters as the Assistant Director for Staffing and Employer Relations, but I'm also here as the de facto chairperson of what we call our All-MTA Recruitment and Sourcing Roundtable. And Naeem, would you be kind enough to pass out the letter?
Sure.
What Mr. Goodman is referring to is a letter that was received by Metro North Railroad by Congressman Rangel congratulating the MTA Metro North Railroad. The MTA. I'm sorry? My microphone is on. Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm sorry, I'll start over again. Mr. Goodman is referring to a letter that was received by us. The letter was sent by Congressman Rangel to Metro North Railroad, and he congratulated MTA, Metro North Railroad, as well as the other agencies for participating in his job fair that his office had sponsored. So I will.
Oh, we saw that on the in the first paragraph.
Sure.
Yes, you did. And
Thank you.
I'm going
Please
to
pass it around.
Sure.
But what's particularly profound about this letter is that it's indicative of the kind of work that we're doing from a recruitment standpoint throughout the agency. And just as Aleda was referencing the fact that she, as an individual, worked throughout New York City Transit to achieve the goals that are set forth within their organizations, what the recruiters have done across the organization is that we've joined collectively in what we call the round table. So although we recruit and we source and we go out and we identify and we try to address the needs of each of our individual and respective agencies, collectively we go out as a unit and we do things what we call like our MTA in Your Community program. Aleda Myers mentioned it before, but we do workshops in the community simultaneous to participating in job fairs. And I think that this letter is really indicative of the kinds of things that we've been doing for the past 5 years here at the MTA collectively as recruiters. This, by the way, was an initiative that the recruiters from Long Island Railroad and Metro North and myself at headquarters and New York City Transit, we decided that we needed to change the approach as to how we were doing the business of recruitment business. And that did not preclude us from working individually within our respective agencies. But what we said was, if we consolidate, if we work collectively, then we can address some of the same concerns and fill jobs in the same manner. And I think that when we attended Congressman Rangel's job fair back in June, what he appreciated here in his staff was not only did we attend the job fair to make the employment opportunities that were available here at the MTA, make the participants aware of the jobs, but people like Aleda Myers, people like Roberto, also we actually put on workshops, creating value in your resume, dress for success, how to navigate the website to get a job, interviewing skills. And what we did was we tried to give the participants the skills needed to either get a job here at the MTA or to get a job in general, because we're firm believers, and it's a little motto and creed that we work from, and that is, it's a win-win situation for the MTA, because if we teach someone how to get a job in this tough economy, whether it's with us or not, they still have to get to work. which means that we still win because they have to use our system to get back and forth to Wall Street. So that's the philosophy that we move forward with. And I think what's particularly nice is the collective nature of what we are trying to do and how we are going about doing it. One of the things I did want to share from an HQ perspective is that we have a police exam that's coming up in September, and the initiatives and the efforts that we've done in terms of ensuring that the minority and female community are aware of the exam that's coming up. The point person, the project manager on this particular initiative is Lakeisha Kaufman, and she has put together a very extensive recruitment plan that includes ensuring that we use minority-focused websites, that includes making sure that we use minority newspapers and periodicals, making sure that we're using the premier radio stations in the city that services the African American and Hispanic community by doing commercials on it. And so that's the kind of work that we're trying to do to ensure that our applicant pool is truly reflective of the community that we service. So, and I wanted you all to see this letter because we didn't ask Congressman Rangel to send this. He sent this totally on his own volition because he actually came to the website and he actually came to the job fair and he saw what we were doing and he wanted to thank us. And while I'm doing that, I actually want to thank Fred Gill from Metro North for coordinating all of our agencies being there, which is why Congressman Rangel sent it directly to Fred, because Fred was our point person. And interestingly enough, if I may add this, we all work on this all MTA Recruitment and Sourcing Roundtable together. So we may have one point person for one period for one event, and we just move it around to make sure that everybody is participating in the process.
Right. Just thank you for identifying. Just Fred, can you just identify yourself? I'm not sure that the board members know who you are. Good. Okay. Thank you for the great effort.
And Helena, I just want to tell you, if you don't mind, that Willie Jenkins and his staff are really active members of our roundtable, and whenever we have events, Long Island Railroad is always there, and we thank you for that. And Patrick, of course, you know that Aleda and your team is always there, as well as the training folks. And I cannot forget Roberto, because he will get me at the end of this, but Roberto's always there as well.
Thank you.
Okay.
Anyone else?
Yes. Hi, Roberto Aguirre. Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to piggyback off of what Leon said. At this career fair, the Rangel Career Fair, we met a young lady named Carolina Lopez, who came to us and said, hey, we want to do business with you, and she represents a group called Technology Services Corp., and hopefully we are going to roll. We met with them on July 10th. They came in, and they have a wonderful program where they provide free IT curriculum to inner-city young adults, 18 to 25. They have an office in Brooklyn. They have an office in Harlem. They have a wonderful program. They do placement services. They counsel. They mentor. So it's our intention, Leon and I have spoken about this, to bring them to the next recruitment roundtable, to meet with the IT community, our lead recruiters, and also just want to mention that on this roundtable, the EEO community is front and center as well. So it's not just the recruiters, but you have the Mike Fifes of the world and the Joel Andrews and the Vanessa Moses of the world who are there as well to ensure that we're addressing our underutilization. Just wanted to talk about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Roberto.
My name is Gloria Colonna from Bridges and Tunnels.
Please, yeah. You'll
Just
see
the
a
one
red
next
light
door.
flash.
All right, plug us in.
Yours should go on now. No? Sorry.
No, it's not plugged. It's plugged out.
As Patrick just explained, our recruitment is a tad different from the railroads in that the bulk of our hiring is pursuant to civil service law. We are expecting, thank you. We are expecting, with the assistance of Patrick and his staff, to administer a civil service exam, which will be for entry-level maintenance in October. They've been just terrific, and I am just so pleased that the support that we've gotten from Transit has really been outstanding. They will also assist us in recruitment. What we have done on our own is to prepare for the areas that we need to focus on, the underutilization of women and Hispanics, is to meet with groups, advocacy groups for both. We have met with the executive leadership of NEW, non-traditional employment for women, and we've had a good rapport with them, and they will assist us in bringing our recruitment effort to all the organizations that they also partner with, the Robin Hood Foundation and a number of other organizations. And with regard to Hispanic organizations, the Bronx Overall Development Corporation, which provides revolving loans. They have a trust fund for small businesses and focused on minority and women-owned businesses, and so forth to expand our outreach efforts. The other area where we were found to have underrepresentation is statistically insignificant, but nonetheless it had to do with administrative support. And in that area, what occurred was that with respect to the Long Beach decision, which restated the long-standing civil service proposition that you cannot have an employee serving in a provisional position once a permanent civil service eligibility list has been established, and that is exactly what occurred. So we had a number of employees, females and minorities, both actually, in that category that they were bumped, is the term, by permanent civil service employees, and we are not at this moment recruiting in that area. The agency is, however, putting its efforts in this maintenance test, which we will hopefully expand those recruitment efforts so that we can have a large pool to choose from. I also wanted to point out that Capital Construction is partnering with us in that effort, and Sheldon Dixon, who is their HR director, and Georgette Jones, who also works in the agency, will be extending their help so that we can work on this together. With regard to other areas where we are, I think, making good headway is the mentoring program, as has been mentioned before. One of the things that we have noted recently, I was providing information to a woman-owned business, and one of the things that we noted is that the requirements for certification are rather low. And Susan Metzger, the chair of our committee, has spoken about that. The change would have to come probably from Albany, I would expect, and I know that Michael Garner is very much aware of that, and that would also it would call for a concerted effort, I think, on the part of all the agencies, because to the extent that we can raise the limit for certification, then the greater opportunities will be available to more women and minority business that are hired, that are better capitalized and can take on the kinds of projects that we would like for them to see, because as Helena and Howard pointed out, that is an issue for all of us. And so that's
capitalization requirements are too low or
I would
too
think,
high?
sir, it's something that Susan Metzger has also raised in previous meetings. Too low, and if it were higher, then perhaps the population would grow and would present greater opportunities for more to join in that process, so that they can take advantage of these projects that at the present are somewhat restricted by our business practices, the risk allocation and insurance requirements that Helena spoke of earlier.
I think you just for clarification, because I think we're all hearing you, but the issue is that the capitalization requirements tend to be too high. We want them to be lower.
Yes, I understand that, and that's what my experience was in this recent situation I was talking about, is that there was a woman-owned business who the woman owned more than what the guidelines provided, and this is what
So she did not, her business didn't qualify.
That's right, and
I haven't seen that one as much as the one I addressed, which is, that the firms can't meet the requirements for capitalization.
Helena, it's the sales and the revenue. Once a firm has increased sales or revenues above a certain threshold, they're no longer considered.
And then they get ousted.
That's correct. So they're no longer a small business or a minority vendor.
And then they go into the pool of competition.
Then you're in with the big fellas.
Yes.
I actually haven't seen that as saying they get ousted from any status.
No, he's saying.
Pardon? Yes. Yes.
They get pushed out.
Yes.
They got pushed out of it
Yes.
because their revenue's too high, right?
Yes.
So they want to
Yes.
increase the ceiling there.
That's a success story in some
Yeah.
respects.
There are problems and there are good problems.
Right?
Yeah.
That sounds like a good problem.
Well, yes, we should all have a problem of too much personal worth. That is a goal, I think. I just wanted to wrap up and say that another aspect of the recruitment that's been a long-standing part of our agency has been with veterans. We have long partnered with the Department of Veterans Affairs. The area where we've had the most contact is in temporary bridge and tunnel officers. These are people who are hired for a term of up to 1 year. And we go to their own offices and we administer the test. We do follow-up, and we have been very successful in working with the Department of Veterans Affairs. They've been very helpful to us. Other than that, I think that what Ms. Myers raised, I think, is a noteworthy point with respect to these are long-term goals. We, of course, you have to sweat and you have to work really hard to set it in motion, but that the growth, I think, will come later, and that we just simply need to focus on how we spread our reach, so that at the time that these tests are given, people are able to come forward and take them and hopefully succeed. We created a program that we call the Management Associates Program, which is a succession planning and diversity initiative. And we began by recruiting with black colleges, with other colleges that have a lot of a diverse population. We had over 1,000 inquiries, and then we whittled it down to 379 applications, 49 interviews, down to 27, and we chose 5. A very diverse group of very talented 4 men and 1 woman who began working in our agency in 5 departments based on their area of education. 3 of them have master's degrees. They're a joy to us. They began working May 10th, and we've begun a training program with the assistance of Transit. Again, I must say that has been Transit has been very generous in assisting us with that. They are in engineering, technology, finance, human resources, and operations. And they have undertaken projects that were in the too hard to do pile for a long time. They've come with a great deal of enthusiasm and talent and energy, and we're so pleased with this program that we hope will continue. The chairman said, funding permitting. But we're very pleased with this group of men and women that are a shot in the arm to our agency. Thank you.
Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Well, Capital Construction couldn't be here today, but we've listed their outreach events, which are on page 21. And in addition to that, Long Island Railroad did submit their list of events that they've attended, as well as the websites that they go to. So if you permit me, I will pass to you the list of events that they've attended.
My own personal hope is that by the time October rolls around, we are ready to talk about the 3 large components of all of this, and that is not only where our numbers are and how we got there and how we get there, but also recruitment and contracting at a more granular level. Okay?
Okay.
And again, I want to thank Howard and Helena very much for kicking this off, as well as all the HR folks and diversity folks from all our other operating divisions. I very much appreciate your doing this.
So now we can start with outreach initiatives.
Yes.
Senada.
Yes, I think we started with outreach quite some time ago here. And there's outreach all over the room.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Senada.
Okay, I'm going to report on our MWDBE outreach initiatives, and just to say we also, I'm also working on some of the job opportunity expos, which we'll talk about later on. But what's important here is that we have been conducting in-house events with respect to bringing in minority firms and assisting them with networking opportunities with all of our agencies. So in July, we had the first MTA agency-wide MWBE discretionary purchase networking forum, where we invited several firms that have been doing business with us, along with some state-certified firms. And we invited the all-agency procurement staff to come in and talk about discretionary purchases. It was, I would say, overwhelming for the first forum that we've had, and it was my feedback that I received was that it was a win-win situation on the agencies who were looking to give out discretionary purchases and the firms that were involved. So hopefully we'll be able to do that again soon. We are, with respect to what Anthony had mentioned earlier, we are reaching out to Southern Connecticut in August, although it says here in July, where we will be making a small business mentoring program presentation to some of the firms that are going to be identified up in Stamford, Connecticut, and in that area. We are also looking, which is not on here, to reach out to going up the line through Metro North up to Poughkeepsie, White Plains, and that should be planned somewhere in the end of August, so that we can try to identify firms that will be certifiable and ready to do business with Metro North and the railroads. Tomorrow, we will be working in the city. Assemblyman Robert Rodriguez and Speaker Sheldon Silver will be hosting a small business expo at Hunter College, and the Department of Diversity and Civil Rights will have representation there. We have our regular DDR certification sessions to try to expand our DBE database. We are noted here as having in August and September in-house networking forums for the architectural and engineering and IT and supplier diversity. However, because of the location, we're going to be confirming our dates towards September, October, and November, because we've made so much adjustments on the location to bring in the small business mentoring program, which has a kickoff date of September through October, and lastly November and December. We are having in August, hopefully, a forum, an outreach event specifically for the 55th Street ventilation facility, which was awarded. However, they weren't able to meet their goals, so we will bring in some of the firms, try to recruit some firms that will come in and hopefully get identified to do some work on that project. And lastly, and one of the biggest that we have here on our outreach initiatives is the 2012 Harlem Week celebration. And although it says Harlem Week, it has become a month-long event. And that celebration is important because they have various events that are going to include not only the economic development, but also for the job opportunities. So we are presently trying to confirm New York City Economic Development Day, where the agency-wide job committee is going to come in and do their MTA in your community, which is what Leon spoke about earlier, which is the different seminars that they have related to job opportunities within the MTA agencies. They are also going to be present at the August 16th. Keith Wright will also be having a Career and Job Fair Expo. They will also be involved in that. We do also have August 18th, Summer in the City, where the historically black colleges come in and have a job career fair. We will be a part of that. And on August 9th, we will have our Small Business Expo. Also there, in addition to a lot of diversity events, which will include Muni artists and the MetroCard opportunities for the community. This is something that we have done for over 10 years, and we continue to do it with the Harlem community. And that is my presentation for today.
Thank you very much.
For the next report, the diversity programs, the MTA Headquarters Diversity Council will celebrate the Hispanic American Heritage Month in September. We haven't settled on a date yet, but the announcement will be coming. And the Bridges and Tunnels talent show, I believe, is being moved to a different month from September. Gloria, can you briefly tell us when it will be in October 5th instead of September. For the certification report, I will turn the microphone over to Carolyn Green.
All right. Good afternoon. What we have here is the number of certification applications that were received during the second quarter of this year. In April, we received 18, May 14, June 11, for a total of 43. In comparing that to the previous 2 years of 2011 and 2010, we see there has been a steady increase in the number of applications that are coming in. This, of course, is a result of all of the outreach activity that we do, and also a result of the Tappan Zee Bridge project that's coming up. Certification activity for the second quarter, we certified 17 firms. We denied 2. 4 applications were returned for failure to cooperate on the part of the applicant, and 2 applicants withdrew their application. So there was a total of 25 processed during the first quarter. That's it.
Thank you. For the EEO and Title VI update, every year MTA agencies submit their results of the statistical analyses which they conduct on the services that they provide to minority and low-income communities, and each agency then has developed monitoring procedures to they assess how the service is provided, the quality of service, as well as they do analysis of customer surveys. We submitted our triennial report last year to the FTA. Next week, the MTA New York City Transit will have its compliance review of Title VI program, which is set to begin on Tuesday. For our EEO program update, similarly, we submit an EEO program every 3 years to the Federal Transit Administration. We submitted a program last year. Every year, the MTA agencies conduct an availability analysis of women and minorities with their relevance to the relevant labor market, and they determine if there is any underutilization by comparing the number of women and minorities in their 2011 year-end workforce with what's available in the labor market. And if there are statistical underutilization and if there are job openings, then the goals are established for the upcoming year. The annual updates are conducted, and they're not submitted to the FTA. Only the triennial report is submitted to the FTA. Excuse me. For the second quarter of 2012, the MTA headquarters as well as the agencies conducted utilization analyses, and the pages that starting on page 17 show the areas of underutilization in various job categories, and as you can see, most of the underutilization is in things like skill craft, service maintenance categories, as well as in other categories. But as Vice President Burney mentioned earlier, there certainly progress has been made in several areas. The recruitment outreach initiatives we discussed earlier. So I would move on to new hires. These figures are for the period January to June. As of June 30th, the MTA agencies hired a total of over 2,000 employees, and about a quarter of them are women and over 70% are minorities. Of the minorities, a large percentage are African Americans, 41.4%, and Hispanic, close to 16%. MTA headquarters hired the highest percentage of women, close to 60%, and the Transit Authority hired the highest percentage of minorities, 80%. And this lists the various positions in which various numbers, agencies which hired the minorities and women, and how the breakdown of minorities is in terms of the various ethnic groups. For our EEO Title VI complaints for the reporting period, there were 294 EEO complaints which were filed with separate agencies. Of the 272 complaints, 175 were filed with external agencies. The 294 includes external and internal complaints. So 272 would be the external complaints, and 272 are filed. Of the 272 complaints, 175 are filed with externally, and 175 with state, city, and federal agencies, and 119 were filed internally. Of the 175 external complaints, disability was 22%, other types of discrimination, as well as race discrimination, were most frequently cited as the basis for the complaint. Of the 119 internal complaints, other types of miscellaneous discrimination, which was 26%, sexual harassment, and race and color, were most frequently cited as the basis for the complaint. We also tracked complaints filed with the MTA agencies for violations of Title VI, and for the reporting period there were 20 complaints which cited 24 separate allegations, and race discrimination was most frequently cited as the basis for the complaint for 67% of the time. And
How do the internal complaints anyway get resolved?
Each agency, most agencies have an EEO officer, and they investigate those complaints internally. The MTA headquarters investigates complaints filed by the MTA headquarters employees as well as employees of Capital Construction. So the agencies, the designated person who investigates the complaint, he or she would determine if there is reasonable cause to believe that a violation of policy has occurred, or there is no reasonable cause to believe that a violation of policy has occurred. If there is a determination, a reasonable cause determination that a violation of policy has occurred, then the agencies would take appropriate corrective action.
And the external determinations go to where?
The external complaints would be filed with the United States Equal Employment Opportunity Commission, the New York State Division of Human Rights, and some instances with the City Human Rights Commission.
Right. And the same kind of a decision is made?
Well, for the external complaints, the complaints are handled by the outside agencies, so they would make a determination.
They would make the same kind of determination?
Yeah, they would make a determination if there's reasonable cause or not.
Okay, thanks. All of these are open, at least, on the
For the external complaints, there are a total of 175 complaints, and as of
76 are open.
153 were open.
Oh,
I'm sorry. You're looking at the internal complaints.
The internal ones, yeah. The external ones, well, we can't control those.
That is correct. That's beyond our control.
Yeah.
So of the internal complaints, 76 remained open as of the reporting.
Are we pretty prompt about deciding these, determining these?
Yes, there are a target date that we have to finish those complaints.
Okay, good. Okay, see.
Thank you. For the small business mentoring program update, there was a detailed presentation at the CPAC meeting earlier today.
Yes.
Let me just say that a total of 56 contracts have been awarded since the inception of the program, which total $31 million. 42 of these contracts were awarded to 37 New York State certified MWB firms, totaling over $24 million. 5 firms were awarded 2 contracts each. And of these 37 MB firms, 10 are also certified DBEs. 157 firms so far, as of the reporting date, have been pre-qualified. Actually, this is as of July 13, not as of June 30th. And 35 firms are pending pre-qualification. Mr. Emil Patel is here. He's the program manager, in case you have any questions.
No, I don't think so.
Thank you.
Thanks.
For the MWDB contract compliance update, Gwen Harleston, who's our new deputy director, will present that report.
Congratulations.
Thank you. If you'll go to the next slide, please. Between October 2011 through June 2012, MTA awarded over $745 million in federally funded contracts, with $114 million being awarded to certified DBEs. Our DBE award participation is currently at 15%, slightly lower than the MTA's 17% goal. However, the DBE awards are trending upward from 12% to 19% for the second quarter. Next slide, please. For MWBEs, as of June 30th, approximately $79 million was awarded in state-funded contracts, with over $29 million awarded to certified MWBEs. MTA MWBE award participation rate is 37%, which exceeds its 20% goal. This is as a result of a greater number of contracts being awarded to primes that are certified MWBEs and prime contractors exceeding the assigned goals on the state-funded contracts. $197 million was paid to primes, with approximately $37 million or 19% being paid to certified MWBEs. This chart here, the discretionary procurement report, this is the first time that we have introduced this report into the Diversity Committee booklet. The discretionary procurement includes purchases of goods, miscellaneous procurements, personal or miscellaneous services that do not exceed $200,000. These procurements are not federally funded and may be awarded to certified MWBEs. The report is shown by agency and the percentage of MWBE procurements at each agency. From November 2011 to June 2012, $642 million has been awarded in discretionary procurements, with $30 million or 5% being awarded to MWBEs.
Do we have goals for this, or did you?
Not for the discretionary. But what it does do is contribute to our goal, help increase the goal. Help us reach the goal, achieve the goal.
Yes. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
For the legal fees paid, almost 7 million was paid in outside counsel legal fees, and 1.5% went to MBE firms, and 12.6% went to WBE firms. For the underwriter fees, over 4 million was paid, and 12% went to MBE firms and 2% went to WBE firms.
Oh, yes, right.
Sorry, page 35.
Yeah. So we're over the goal in two categories and under it in two. It's interesting. For the legal fees, the WBE does pretty well, and
yes.
The underwriting and the MBE does pretty well.
For the underwriters, yes, the MBEs did over 12%.
That's very interesting. I think we could try to bring up I suppose we're trying to bring up the laggards
For the
here.
WBE firms, right.
Yeah.
For asset fund managers, in traditional assets, the MWB participation was almost 24%.
Yeah, that's very good.
But when combined traditional and non-traditional assets, the participation is 11.2%.
And by traditional assets, you mean things like normal investments of a...
Traditional assets are stocks and bonds,
Right.
cash. Non-traditional assets would be real estate, hedge funds, private equity.
Right. Much more, or a different kind of expertise is required for
That's
for
correct.
that kind of...
That's, I'm sorry, what I just mentioned, that's for the MAPSTOA pension plan. For
Right,
the,
yes.
Yeah, for the MTA defined pension plan, which includes the Long Island Railroad additional plan, the MWB participation is close to 24%, but 23.3% in traditional assets. But combined with non-traditional assets, for the total assets, is 10.4%.
Right. Very interesting. But on these goals have been more than met, they've been exceeded.
In traditional
In
assets.
traditional
right.
assets, yeah.
Right.
That's good.
Should we move on?
Yes, please move on, yeah.
For the capital projects, Gwen again will present the numbers.
Okay. The overall goal achievement for second quarter 2012, DBE is at 15.2%, MBE is at 13.6%, and WBE 24.5%. We are currently exceeding the MBE and WBE goals established for MTA, which are 10% MBE and 10% WBE, while the DBE goal of 15.2% is slightly below MTA's 17% goal. DBE participation is trending upward again. We began for first quarter, we were at 10.1. Second quarter, we were at 19.8. During the first quarter of 2012, a $262 million DBE contract was awarded, and the goal had to be reduced from 17% to 8% because of the specialized nature of the work involving underground tracks, signal, power, and communication systems for transit. However, during the second quarter, a DBE capital construction contract totaling $326 million was awarded to EE Cruise Tully, a joint venture, and a goal was established of 20%, of which $28.9 million was awarded to 17 certified MWBEs. MBE and WBE participation has increased as a result of New York State crediting MTA for awards made to MWBEs working on federally funded contracts, and as a result of MTA's Small Business Mentoring Program. MTA's Small Business Mentoring Program is awarding contract to MWBEs as primes, when historically we have focused on MWBEs for subcontracting opportunities. This change in approach means that the full contract value on work performed by MWBEs as primes is credited toward MTA's MWBE participation. The investment in the Small Business Mentoring Program has resulted in increased direct prime contract award to our pool of certified MWBEs, while at the same time reducing cost. And in Mr. Patel's presentation to CPOC, he talked about added value and the engineering estimates. The Small Business Mentoring Program also ensures that direct and indirect jobs are created on all levels within 10 of the 12 county regions that MTA serve. Over 750 jobs have been created thus far within the MWBE community. Some of these communities have historically been excluded from job creation and economic development opportunities.
Okay, thank you.
That concludes our report.
All right, well, I will move and second a motion to adjourn, and I will vote for it. We're adjourned. Thank you. Thank you very much, everybody. This is a very interesting meeting.
Thank you.